All right, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ellen Baxt, and I work at the CUNY Central Office, and I support the ESL and adult literacy programs on all the 14 campuses where we are. Like everyone, I am working from home. And one of the things that I do is bring resources and introduce students and staff to careers and different career pathways. Something that I think that most of us could learn more about is jobs in government. So civil service jobs, which includes transportation. I realize that there are some incredible opportunities in transportation, and I don't really know very much about them. And so I heard one of our presenters, Wendy Williams, give a presentation, and it was amazing. And I said, well, I want her to speak to our students. And so today we will be learning about the MTA. If you have a question, you can go ahead and write it in the chat. And at the end, we'll go back through all of the questions and we'll make sure that they all get answered. So I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to turn it over to Wendy and Jennifer.
I'm coming. I'll be right there. I'm so sorry. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having us today. My name is Jennifer Buchanan. I am the newly Director of Human Resources business partner, previously Director of Recruitment. I also have my colleague here today, Wendy Williams, who is the newly Senior Manager of Social Media and Branding, formerly Manager of Recruitment. Thank you for having us here today. We look forward to providing you as much information as we can on MTA and our employment opportunities. If you have just a little housekeeping, if you have any questions while we go through the presentation, feel free to drop it in the chat. Wendy and I will try to answer as we go along, and hopefully at the end we'll have enough time for some Q&A. Okay, so MTA, I'm sure most of you are familiar with MTA. We operate within the 5,000 square mile radius of New York State, Long Island, and Connecticut. We serve approximately pre-COVID about 15.3 million people. Our agency is combined of multiple agencies, which include New York City Transit, MTA Bus, Long Island Railroad, MetroNorth, and MTA Bridges and Tunnels. So the MTA, who are we? We are a dynamic, diverse, passionate, skilled, and talented workforce committed to providing reliable, innovative, and excellent service to our customers. We are also an equal employment opportunity employer. We encourage a diverse pool of candidates, which consists of people with diverse abilities, experience, and military service members. Our team is comprised of people from all different backgrounds. We employ people from IT to bus operator, train conductors, HR professionals, computer specialists, analysts. I always say we hire every title that you can think of except for chefs. So early on, I mentioned that we're comprised of multiple agencies, just a little bit about all of those agencies. So if you look at the top here, you see that we have New York City Transit and Bridges and Tunnels. Those two out of all the agencies are our civil service agencies. Civil service meaning that for at least 80% of the employment opportunities, you have to take an exam. MTA Bus Company, if you could go back, Wendy, 1 second. MTA Bus Company is comprised of buses that operate in Upper Westchester, Yonkers, and parts of Queens. We have our MTA Construction and Development. That agency oversees our mega projects such as East Side Access and the Second Avenue subway line. You have our MTA headquarters that oversees all of the agencies here. You have our MetroNorth, Long Island Railway, and Staten Island Railway. Those are our commuter railway lines. And then you have our Manhattan, Bronx, and Subway Transit Operating Authority. Those are our buses that operate in the Bronx and Manhattan. So now we have one of our poll questions for you, a little trivia here. What you can do, I'm going to read off the question and you could type your answer in the chat. And then Wendy, in about a minute, she'll drop the answer in the chat for you. So how many New York City Transit subway stations are there? Are there 500, B, 420, C, 472, and D, 333? I see the answers are coming in here. Okay, so in a couple of seconds, Wendy will drop that answer in the chat and I'll proceed. They're coming in. You guys are getting it too, I see. All right, Wendy, we can go to the next slide. Okay. So, professional career titles. So these are most of our titles. These titles are our resume-based titles. Remember earlier on, I said that there's some titles where you have to take an examination for. These titles, mostly you do not. These are interview where you would apply for a position via our website that you see in the upper right-hand corner. And it's a basic resume type of position. You submit your resume, hopefully you will get called for an interview and you go through that process there. A lot of these positions here do require a number of years of experience and or an associate or bachelor's degree. Next, we have our entry-level titles. So these are entry-level titles. For some of these titles here, you would have to take an examination. Few, but they're far in between that you may not have to take an exam. But if you look at our little photo down here below, you see our bus operator. Our bus operator here does not require any education or any formalized training. You do have to have a class B license, but we will assist with getting the license. What you would have to do is take an exam and then get your class B permit upon getting called for that exam. And then we will assist you along the way to obtain the class B license. Also for our track worker, there's little or no education experience requirements either. You would have to apply for an exam on our website. I'm not sure, all of these titles here are examination based mostly. You would have to look at our examination schedule to see when these titles will be available for you to apply to. And we'll provide that information on how to apply for an exam and so forth during this presentation. So our skilled trade titles. So our skilled trade titles you see here in this bubble, most of these titles here do require a number of years of experience. These are not entry level. They're about mid-level. So most of them require 2 to 3 years of experience or graduation from a trade school with maybe 1 year of experience. So for example, just so you get an idea of our career trajectory here at Transit, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you see promotion to bus maintainer B, which is an auto mechanic, and you see promotion to bus maintainer auto body A. So for those two titles, of course, mechanic, you're operating on the inside of the bus, or auto body, you're fixing things on the outside of the bus, including seats and things like that. But with these two titles, you can stay in these two titles for a year, right? And then once you complete a year of service within that title, you can promote up into our bus maintenance supervisor title. That's the top bubble you see right here. And after you spend some time in that title, you can then promote up into what we call our managerial titles, which will be a superintendent title of something of that nature. So once you complete that, you can see here that we have wonderful career paths here where you can promote into, and the level of type of experience that you would gain at transit is immense. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pass it over to Wendy, and she's going to discuss a little bit about our hiring process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thrilled to be here. Thank you, Ellen. It's a pleasure to be here and partner with Jennifer Buchanan to share this great information with everyone regarding the MTA. The questions submitted prior to the event were really amazing, actually. So we tried to answer all of the questions that were previously submitted. And a lot of the questions had to do with our hiring process, which I'm going to go into detail. But Jennifer just shared with you as far as our career path and career trajectory. She did a phenomenal job in talking about the different agencies within the MTA. So there are so many different agencies, buses, subways, Long Island Railroad, et cetera, where eventually you can move around. What I was smiling as she did the introduction, because besides the fact that I'm happy to be here, because she shared with you, I don't know if you captured this, our new titles. So that goes to show as far as the ability to move and grow into the MTA as far as your career path, promotional paths, et cetera. So she and I both had an amazing opportunity actually to transition into new roles, which are promotional titles. So we're thrilled about that. So I just wanted to share that with you. Some of you asked about the education. Jennifer went over the entry-level jobs such as bus operator and track worker. Those jobs, those of you who asked about the formal education that's required, they don't require formal education. So I just wanted to share with you, just to elaborate what Jennifer shared, is that there's something for everyone in the MTA. And I love her analogy, except for a chef. So if you're a cook, we're not the right organization, but there's something for everyone, regardless of your educational background, et cetera, or your experience. There are entry-level positions, there are professional titles, there's those that require your resume and experience, and then those that require an examination. What I'm going to do is talk about the hiring process overall for the MTA. So the MTA hires talent through 3 distinct processes: job vacancy notices, which are the JVNs, resume-based hiring. Current open positions are posted on our career website. If you notice that some of the slides, we've actually incorporated our career website. Jennifer went over if you remember the graphic that had the professional titles, those are the jobs that require, like an HR person, like Jennifer's an HR director, right? Or myself, I'm in the talent acquisition as well. Someone who's a doctor, who's a nurse, someone who's in IT, for example, or engineer. Those are resume-based positions. So what do we mean by that? You're not required to take an exam. However, you would go to our website, look at the job itself, and then you would customize your resume for the job before applying, and you would apply to the job. So to be considered for an interview, what the recruiter and the hiring manager would look at, they would look at your resume, look at the job requirements, and they would also look at the amount of experience, the years of experience that you have. So those are the job vacancy / resume-based positions where you would apply based on your resume, your educational background, as well as your experience through our website. And then we have the jobs that require an exam, like a train conductor, a bus operator, a track worker, the mechanical jobs, the skilled trade jobs that Jennifer shared with you. The bulk of those jobs require that you take an exam. So there are some exams that are civil service and some are non-civil service. Most of them that you'll see that are civil service, it'll indicate civil service. An example of an exam for a non-civil service position would be an administrative title. So you may see something that says administrative, an administrative title, which would require that you take an exam, but it may not be a civil service position. So the exams, you'll look at the exam schedule, which I'm going to show you. I'll show you how to look at the exams look at the exam schedules, and it'll tell you, it'll distinguish between civil service versus non-civil service as far as the exams are concerned. I'm going to go into great detail in a few slides regarding the examination process, the list, how you're hired, etc. So I just wanted to cover that with you. And then we have provisional hiring for immediate civil service positions, which are resume based. So I'll explain this a little further. Provisional hiring, let's say there's an opening at the MTA right now, and there is an immediate need to bring people on board to help us. There's an immediate need. The norm is normally for this job itself, it requires that you take an exam, but they're going to bypass that only for this time period because they need to hire people immediately to help us with this function in the company. So provisional hiring is not a full-time permanent position. It is a position where you come in that you would normally take an exam for, but they're going to bypass this for now. However, in order to become permanent in that position, so let's say you're provisional hiring, you're a provisional employee where you're hired for that time frame. When the exam does come, so whenever the exam opens up for that job title, in order to maintain a permanent status within the MTA, you would be required to take the exam and pass the exam. So those are the different types of 3 distinct job processes that are with the MTA. The job vacancy notification, as I indicated, you go on our website, your resume, your experience, and your education. Then you have the exams. You would apply for an exam, take an exam, and then you'll be placed on a list. And then we have the provisional hiring. Now I want to continue with our fun facts and our poll questions. So we love poll questions. And we know that from the questions that were submitted and the interaction that we've had with Ellen, that you really love the MTA just as much as we do as far as trivia. So we incorporated some trivia for you, and Jennifer Buchanan will actually provide you with the answer. So I'll read the question. This is a fun fact. Michael Jackson's music video, Bad, so I don't know if you're a fan of Michael Jackson, I love music, was filmed at which subway station? Did you know that it was at a subway station? So this is really nice and unique. Was it at Broad Street? Was it at High Street? Was it at Hoyt and Skidmore Street? Or was it at the Barclays Center? So these are the 3 options that you have. We'll ask that you type in the letter or the station that you think it is in the chat. And then Jennifer, I see the answers coming in. I see some huge Subway fans. I'm impressed. Wow. You know what? Thus far, I think everyone has it right. And the answer is, drum roll, the answer is C, Hoyt and Skidmore. Absolutely. Thank you. Great job, everyone. So let's continue. What I want to do now is cover a little bit about the MTA and the jobs that we have. So prior to the event itself, what I did was I continued to look at our job site to look at some jobs that we could share. I decided to actually share one particular job that you can actually view. So this is a customer service position that's currently open if you're interested at the MTA. And we don't have a lot of customer service positions that are open. Remember I just talked about the different types of ways in which you can apply for a job via an exam, resume-based, or provisional. This is a JVN, or a resume-based position. So the MTA client service specialist, what do? The purpose of this position is to interact with the customers and provide them with information requested to provide excellent customer service, responsible to resolve issues related to pension and retirement benefits. In addition, this position is responsible to conduct retiree exit interviews and represent the Consolidated Pensions and Retirement Benefits Department at new hire orientations and pre-retirement seminars. Now, this is not all of the information regarding this job itself. I couldn't put it all on one slide, but I wanted to give you a little preview of what this job entailed. If you're interested in this position, I suggest that you please go to our website. You can type in client service specialist as far as a search, or you can type in the number that's up there, 99249, which is the job number. It'll take you to the full job description. You'll see the experience and the educational level. I gave you a little tip earlier regarding your resume. When you apply for any job, please keep in mind that it is really important to look at your resume and look at the job that you're applying for and customize your resume to the job. So you may have an outline or frame of your resume, but it's so important. The goal is to at least get a phone interview with a recruiter. That's what you want to do. In order to do that, you have to look at your resume and utilize similar words that are in the job description if you meet those qualifications. So that's important to note. Now, the qualifications are strong customer service skills, of course, and a professional demeanor, working knowledge and use of PeopleSoft, which is an HR software and related database software, working knowledge and use of office productivity tools such as Microsoft, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, must possess familiarity, tongue-tied, with functional area, ability to process customer requests consistently with general supervision, ability to learn and use the various systems and technologies that we have. Now I'm going to pause a little bit because I'm talking really fast. Something that's not on this slide that's really important that I want to share. Like I said, I couldn't add everything up here. If you go to the first bullet, and I mentioned about pension and retirement benefits, I've been fortunate enough to work for the MTA for 5.5 years. I love it. As far as the organization is concerned, the culture and how people work together, which is really important. But a huge part of the MTA and who we are and what makes our company unique, besides our phenomenal team of 70,000 employees, is the benefits. Our benefits, I came from the outside. I worked at corporate America for a very long time. It was wonderful, but they can't touch our benefit package where I came from, meaning our medical, we have medical benefits, we have dental, we have vision. I wear glasses, which are very expensive. So you have your medical, your dental, and your vision. Retirement benefits. Most companies offer some type of retirement benefits, such as a 401k, where you can get money taken from your check, your paycheck every time that you're paid. And some companies also match that. So that's one form of a retirement. But on the outside, in corporate American and a lot of companies, most of them in New York, I know a lot of people who work outside of the MTA, they don't offer a pension. That's a huge selling point. So not only will you have a retirement account with the MTA if you're hired, but you will have a pension. So there are two ways in which you can save for your retirement with the MTA, which is amazing. So you have your medical, your dental, you have your vision, you have your pension, you have your 401k. And if we were in person, I would normally pull out my ID. A huge selling point. You get a Metrocard, which is a commuter pass for free. So your Metrocard will have your photo on it and it would have your job title. With the MTA, as an employee, you will have the opportunity to ride the trains and the buses for free. Now that saves you a couple of $1,000s easily a year, right? Now we talked about employees that come in. If you come in and you're a part of our union, so you're a union employee, you take the exam, you're hired, you're with the union, you will get the opportunity not only to ride the subways, and you're not a part of management, ride the subways and the buses, but you get the opportunity to choose if you want to ride the MetroNorth or the Long Island Railroad for free. Now that's thousands of dollars if you're familiar with the cost of riding our railroads for free. So our benefits are phenomenal. If you look at our salaries, another thing that I like about the MTA besides the company itself, when you look at our jobs, it's not a trick as far as how much you'll get paid. It is on our notice of examinations. You go to our website, you look at the job vacancy notifications, you'll see the range as far as the salary, which is great. So you should add, I always tell folks when you think about looking for a job, but with the MTA particularly, think about adding at least $15,000 on top of that with all the benefits as far as the savings. So I think that's huge. I wanted to share that with you. So this job, if you're interested in customer service, please go to our website and take a look at the customer disposition itself and all of the jobs that we have, by the way. So let's continue with our great discussion. How do you apply for an exam? Our examination list is updated once a month. Typically, there will be new exams that are added onto our exam schedule. Typically, I state, because sometimes you may not see something that's added, it may be the same exams from the previous month, but most case scenario, you'll notice that there is an additional exam that's added. So how do you apply for an exam? Applying for jobs at the MTA, you'll go to our portal, the site, and then you see the arrow in the lower right-hand corner, which says jobs that require exams. Find out about upcoming exams. You would click on that link. It really is that simple. Click on that link and it'll take you to our exam schedule where you can see the exams that are open right now. Right now, there's only one exam that's open. There's also a link if you're interested in becoming a police officer. Did you know that we have a police department? So most people, and I thought this also prior to joining the MTA, was that the police department is the police department, but actually the MTA, we have our own police department. If you're interested in becoming a police officer, you can go to our website, and the website is there for you to look at, and click on find out about becoming a police officer. Something else I want to touch on. So in addition to the job vacancies, the resume-based jobs, I talked about the skilled trade jobs. Jennifer did a phenomenal job in explaining that to you as well. And I just mentioned that if you want to be a police officer, but I want to share with you that we have a lot of jobs open right now in IT. So if you're interested in information technology, you love computers, that's your background, that's your experience, there's a link on our webpage for IT or those types of jobs as well. Jennifer mentioned the East Side Access Project when she was going through the presentation. East Side Access Project is going to be humongous. So I implore you to go and look at our website and you can see more information about this. And I mention this because if you, let's say, for example, we didn't talk about engineering a lot, but let's say engineering is your background. You're an experienced engineer and that is your background. We're going to have a lot of jobs opening as far as applying for these jobs, for engineering jobs, to help with the East Side Access Project and other jobs as well. I don't have the information yet, but it's coming. So the website is really important. You can take a photograph of this slide with your phone if you like, or I typed it in the chat earlier, one of our websites, how you can access our website, because I would suggest that you go on our website at least once or twice a week because jobs are open and they're updated quite often. And when you go to this page and the link is right there, you can actually see there are different hyperlinks that takes you to different jobs itself. So let's continue. This is a little preview of the examination process. So I'm going to walk you through how do you apply for those exam-based jobs like bus operator, track worker, conductor, etc. This is a screenshot of our examination schedule. It is the open competitive examination schedule. And this is from July to December of 2021. When you're looking at this and you go to our website, the first column you'll notice will be the agency. As Jennifer went over earlier in the second or third slide, I believe it was, she talked about the different agencies that are within the MTA. So that gives you the agency, New York City Transit, MTA Bus. To the right, you'll see the exam title, the title of the exam. As I mentioned a few moments ago, the only exam that you can apply for right now is Revenue Equipment Maintainer. If you go to our exam schedule, you click on the link, something that I forgot to mention with the other slide, by the way. When you look at our exam schedule, if you see the exam title is highlighted in blue, it's a hyperlink. that means that exam filing period where you can apply to take that exam is open. If it is grayed out and you can't click on it, that means that that exam is not open yet. So for example, for the heating and air conditioning maintainer, the application period is August 6th, so it's not open yet. If you were to go to the website, you wouldn't be able to click on that. So the exam title, to the right, you'll have the exam number. Each exam that we have has a specific number, and then you'll see the application period. This is really important. The application period basically means that this is a time frame that you can go in and apply for an exam. So let's say today is July 28th. I had to think about the date for a second. If today is July 28th, but you were on the fence about applying for the revenue equipment maintainer, you were uncertain, but July 28th, you decided, you know what, I'm going to apply. It's too late, unfortunately, because the filing period to apply to take the exam has closed. So in order to take one of our exams, the first step is to go to our exams page, look at the examination, the notice of examination, look at all the requirements, because that's important. You want to make sure before you apply for the exam that you meet the criteria, right? So once you've done that and you say to yourself, you know what, I meet all the criteria for this exam, and then you apply to take the exam. So once you apply to take the exam, as far as the exam date, that's generally on the notice of exam itself. And then 10 days before the actual exam date, you'll receive information via email, mail, etc., as far as the exam date, the actual date, time, and the location. So this is the examination schedule. This is a photocopy of an actual notice of exam. It's not current, it's old, but this is really how it would appear. So the exam that I shared with you that's open right now, if you want to see, just if you're curious as to how it would appear, you can go to our exam schedule and look at it. So a notice of exam, which we refer to as an NOE, is a formal document detailing important information about the exam. You really want to take the time to look at this. I know looking at it, this is one page and you may see about 7 or 8 pages and you say to yourself, it's a lot, but it's great information. And it is incumbent upon you to determine if you meet the qualifications for the exam. And I say that because our exams, there's a fee that's associated with the exam. With this example, for car inspector, the application fee is $82. So if you don't qualify to take the exam or meet the qualifications, but you paid for it anyway, you're not going to get a refund. So I don't want you to be in a place where you're applying for an exam and you don't meet the qualification. So that's important to read all of the information regarding the job description to make sure that this is something you want to do, right? And the qualifications, it will list how much you will be getting paid approximately, the type of exam. Oftentimes, Jennifer and I are asked, well, what's going to be on the exam? So I would ask the same question, by the way, if I were you. Our notice of exam doesn't give you everything, but it does give you an idea of the types of questions that will be on the exam. And as far as the score, the norm is that you have to get at least 70%, 70 to pass the exam, and then you'll be placed on a list. And the list may not be established for a year as far as where you fall. And then you can be called if you meet the qualifications, and based on availability, if you will, you could be on a list for up to 4 years. So I wanted to share that with you. The list may be active, may or may not, for a 4-year period. So this is a little overview of our notice of examination. I wanted to take some time to explain that to you. So what could you find in the NOE? Great question. The MTA, you'll find information regarding the agency itself. I'm flipping my pages because I want to share something with you about the fee schedule. So bear with me for a second about the fees itself. So the exam title, which is really important, right? The application deadline, I mentioned the importance of looking at the deadline on a notice of exam, and the types of tests. Some of them are practical, some of them are multiple choice, etc. So they'll give you, there may be a notice of exam where you'll notice that there are two these two types of tests that are required. So you really want to look at that as well. And the application fee. And the reason I said, give me a second, because I want to look at my notes, is because when you look at the notice of exam, you'll see the fee that's required when you apply for the exam, and you apply online, and you can apply and you pay for it via your credit card, et cetera, right? So you'll see the fee on there. But I wanted to pause for a second, because if you look at the NOE towards the back, you'll notice that there are different ways in which you can request or apply for a fee waiver. So that's great. So the MTA, based on different scenarios, will provide you with a fee waiver. So I'll give you an example. An individual who's unemployed can apply for a fee waiver. An individual that's receiving supplementary security income, which is SSI, you may apply for a fee waiver. An individual who's receiving Medicaid benefits, you may apply for a fee waiver. An individual who's receiving public assistance, you may apply for a fee waiver. A participant certified eligible for a Workforce Investment Act, which is really huge. And these are different organizations throughout New York City. Jennifer and I normally conduct sessions for them, people who are members of the Workforce Investment Program within New York City, which is referred to as Workforce One, by the way. An individual who has served in the U.S. Armed Forces on a full-time active duty other than reserves and or training, and has not previously received a veteran's fee waiver. So there are multiple ways, and everything that I just read off for you, by the way, I don't want you to feel, because I wouldn't memorize this if I were you, that you have to memorize, what did she say as far as the qualifications? And I would want to do that as well. But the great news is that if you go to our exam schedule and you click on one of the active exams, even if you're not interested in applying for that exam, and you go through the pages, you'll notice that towards the back, there is information as far as how you can obtain a fee waiver. So if you're curious, you can go over the qualifications, look at the qualifications on our NOE. Test date is really important. It may change, by the way, but they give you an approximation of the test date on the notice of exam. How do you apply? The application instructions, which are, if we make it very easy for you, which is online. If you're interested in taking an exam with the MTA, a lot of us, we love our phones, right? I love my cell phone as well. We use it as a computer. However, this is important to note. When you're applying for exams, sometimes there's a little hiccup as far as systemically with the technology. You want to try to do this on a laptop, because there may be an issue with trying to apply on your cell phone. So you want to look at that as well. Job description, salary and benefits, which I talked about, the benefits that we have, which are phenomenal. The requirements to be appointed. Jennifer talked about the bus operator position. You remember that, as you recall, which requires that it doesn't require any formalized education, but to be appointed means that after you've taken the exam, in order to come in and to get hired, there's different requirements. Like the bus operator, of course, you need your regular driver's license. And once you're called, you have to have your CDL permit, Class B permit when you come in, and we'll help you with the other part. Then there's a physical exam, there's drug testing, et cetera. So all the information that I just shared, and Jennifer actually shared with you earlier, again, you can find this in the notice of exam. Qualification requirements, all of that's in the notice of exam. The test. Now, this graphic says the test. Of course, looking at the notice of exam, everyone, it's not going to give you all the information regarding the test or the answers, but it gives you an idea as to the different types of questions that may be asked of you, or the different types of exams that we may actually provide based on the NOE. So this is an overview of the notice of exam. Here we are. Here's another, what do you think? MTA trivia. I love trivia. So I looked at this question initially, and I said to myself as a New Yorker, well, a lot of our subway stations are elevated, but there is one. What is the highest elevated train station? What do you think? Is it Smith 9th Street? Is it Jackson Heights? Is it 34th Street Penn Station? Is it Broadway Junction? So take a minute. And then type in your answer in the chat, please. And then Jennifer will actually give you the answer. Let's see. Very interesting. So I'll share a little bit about Wendy. I live in Queens, but I grew up, those of you who typed in Broadway Junction or D, I grew up over there actually. So I live in Queens. I've been in Queens for probably about 16 years, but I know that station. I've taken that station, the train, the L line, the J, the A many times. So I get why you would say Broadway Junction, but actually that's not the answer. Jennifer's actually right. She gave you the answer. It's Smith 9th Street. And I know why you probably said Broadway Junction because it is high, right? And then you think about if the escalator is, you know, we're working on the escalator because we want to make sure that everything's okay and you got to take the stairs, it's a long flight. So it's high. But the answer is actually Smith 9th Street. It's not Penn Station. Jackson Heights, I've taken that also. So I could see why. So great job, everyone. And I love the enthusiasm. Ellen, Jackson Heights. Well, actually, I thought that before. And first I said, maybe it's Broadway Junction. And I said, no, it's actually Smith 9th Street. So this is fun. This is fun facts and fun trivia. I hope that the information that we shared was very helpful. What I'm going to do is, before I click off and go to the last slide, if you allow me to look at, we covered how you apply. As far as timelines and when you're hired, right? Someone wanted to know that depends. So remember I talked about the examination process where you may be on a list and it could take a couple of years and that's okay. And the reason I say that is because when you're looking for a job, I share this with folks as far as my personal experience. Have plan A, B, and C. So what do I mean by that? You see an exam that you're interested in, apply for the exam if you have the qualifications, right? But in addition to that, look at other opportunities within the MTA, maybe resume-based, and apply to those as well if you meet the qualifications. So the resume-based jobs, based on the need, you may be hired before the exam because the exam you have to be on a list. For the resume-based job, it varies as far as the time frame, interviewing, onboarding someone. It may take a few months if you wanted to know regarding that. Someone asked about the jobs that we have available. I shared about that already. Jennifer did it as well. We talked about the various, so conductors and station agents. A lot of people want to be a conductor and a station agent. I think that's phenomenal. They're not open currently because we have all this great technology, right? You have the machines, etc. But things could change. Continue to look at the website. Someone asked about the helping people in the subway station. We have Long Island Railroad, for example. I don't see it open now, but I remember a few months back, they had subway ambassadors. So if you're looking for how do you help someone in one of our stations, that the title that you're going to look for is an ambassador, which is a great opportunity. Is it open today? No, but it may open. I'm not sure as to when, but I know that maybe a few months ago, they did have positions like that were open. Do we hire without experience? It depends. It depends on the job that you're applying for. Like I said, with regards to the bus operator, there's no formalized experience, or the track worker, because we train you. We have a phenomenal training team, by the way. Do you hire people who don't have a high school diploma? Again, we talked about bus operator and track worker. That's what we mean when we state that you don't need to have a formalized education, but there are certain criteria, like the bus operator, you need to have a regular driver's license, right? And then come in with your CDL permit. And we will actually train you to get your CDL, which saves you a lot of money, actually, if you do the research on that. License, we talked about that. Of course, there are opportunities to grow. Like I said, Jennifer did a phenomenal job in our introductions and she shared our new titles. So that's great. We talked about the MTA. So prior to joining this company, I worked at an organization where I was a trainer. I love teaching, where I taught classes and I traveled throughout 17 states, 17. So I got the opportunity to see the subway line in Chicago, Atlanta, and in San Francisco. I actually rode their trains to and from work every day. I spent a month in San Francisco at one point teaching classes. And I bring that up for a reason, in that the magnitude of the MTA is huge in comparison to the other states. So we're the largest transportation system in all of North America. So I want you to think about that. Think about the fact that we're the only state that our subway system, our transportation system, where you can go from throughout every borough. And if you want to get to Connecticut, which is another state, you can actually take the MetroNorth and go to Westchester, Connecticut. You go towards upstate, et cetera. So I say all that to say, regarding, someone asked about the cost, et cetera. It costs a lot of money to service you. You're our customers. We need you. We value you. To provide you with on-time and safe service, it costs a lot of money as far as operating costs is concerned. Vacancies, we covered that. Benefits, our benefits, I say this with great pride, are excellent, phenomenal. We talked about how you can apply IT. Someone asked a question regarding IT. There's a huge push to hire a lot of people in this field. I suggest that you go to our employment site, our website, click on the link for IT. There's a separate link for IT jobs. Please look at that. What are the requirements to get accepted? We talked about that. It depends. We talked about the test process. Where can I apply? You can apply online for our exams. We talked about the licenses. We talked about the education. The education depends on the job. If you're applying for a resume-based job where you're going online and you're not required to take a test, right? So you'll look at the requirements. They'll tell you specifically, do you need an undergraduate degree? Do you need a master's degree? They'll tell you if they would take, if an associate degree is required with X amount of years of experience. So there's different information that's up there regarding the education. How easy is it for you to get a job? Well, we're an equal employment opportunity. Jennifer did a phenomenal job in sharing with you that we believe in diversity, because that's important. It does really take all 70,000 employees to service our clients, and you're our clients and the communities that we serve. Everyone's important in the company equally. We all play an integral role in the organization and servicing the customers. Someone wanted to know about part-time. So the MTA typically hires for full-time employees. However, prior to COVID, Jennifer and I actually managed an internship program for the Department of Buses for high school students for summer and spring. So we would actually, so prior to COVID, and hopefully this will resume, we would actually recruit and hire high school students to work with us for 6 weeks, and they would get paid by the Department of Education, whether it be in the spring or in the summer. So we have programs for high school students, and the high school students actually could apply for the MTA through the Summer Youth Employment Program. In addition, Jennifer and I co-managed the MTA bus operations apprenticeship program, where we would hire graduating seniors from high school directly into the MTA as full-time employees. However, it's based on their trade. So these students would attend a CTE, which is a career technical education high school, like a Transit Tech, for example, or Bronx Design Academy or Westinghouse. I'm thinking about schools, if you will. So if you think about schools that are skilled trade schools, high schools, if you will. So there are certain programs. We talked about the jobs and how you obtain jobs at the MTA. This is the page where it shows you if you've taken an exam and you have the exam number and the information. And please, whenever you apply for an exam, make sure that you take a screenshot or you write down your reference number, the exam number, the date, et cetera, for future, if you have questions in the future. This website is monitored by our phenomenal team at the MTA and the exams unit. They will answer any questions that you have if you send them an email. They're not open right now because of COVID. And then we're all over social media. So we're on LinkedIn. I implore you to follow us on LinkedIn because State of New York Metropolitan on LinkedIn, they post our organization. When I say they, my colleagues, they post jobs here also. So in addition to looking at our website, you can look at LinkedIn and follow us on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, MTA New York City Transit. Follow us on Facebook. We're on Twitter, twitter.com. I thought I updated it, so I apologize, but we're on Instagram. I like to look at the MTA website, our link on Instagram. And the reason I like that is because I like trivia and I like to know about like what's going on specifically from the clients, the different photos, different special programs and things of that nature. You can go to Instagram and you'll see different things like that, like our mask force, where you have a team of dedicated employees going out and actually looking at the information. Actually giving out masks, which is nice, right, to our commuters. QR code. So I'll leave this up here for a moment because this is the easiest way. So let's say you didn't take a photograph or you didn't take a photograph of the website that we placed up here, or you want to know what is a QR code exactly, right? If you take your phone, if you have the ability to do this, if you're in front of a laptop like myself, if you take your cell phone, if you have your phone in your hand and you take your camera and you literally tap on the camera, you place it right next to that QR code, that square box, you'll notice that an outline is going to pop up. If you tap that, it'll take you directly to our website. Magic. It's like amazing, right? So I talked a lot because I love sharing, and sharing is caring and all of that good stuff. What questions do you have for us? Let's see.
Wendy, one of the questions was, can you apply for MTA through Workforce One? I let them know that they cannot. Of course, they have to apply to MTA directly, but maybe you want to share a little bit about our relationship with Workforce One.
So Workforce One, actually, they're phenomenal, whoever asked that question. They're all over, they're in different boroughs. Jennifer and I, we had one session with them similar to this in May, and we had one in June. But we may make it specific to specific jobs, if you will. It's an amazing program. I'll give you a quick highlight. Workforce One, if you're a part of that group, or if you're wondering about Workforce One, I would Google it if I were you, because they're in every borough, and you'll find out the local offices and the phone numbers and the information. And the reason I suggest that is because they have resume and interviewing skills classes at Workforce One for you. They help you with job placement at Workforce One, which is amazing. They have sessions like when Jennifer and I participate, we're not the only employer that's there. They actually network with employers around the city that they would have a session where you can hear from different employers. Of course, I'm a little biased to the MTA, but they have sessions where you can listen to presentations all at once from different companies, and they share the different jobs with you. In addition, this is a huge selling point for Workforce One, by the way, and I have to send an email to our colleague over there to share that I'm selling Workforce One. If you want to be a bus operator, right, and you're a part of Workforce One, they have a special program at no cost to you, by the way. And I'll say that again, at no cost to you, where they will help you get your CDL. If you Google a CDL, it's hundreds of dollars to get a CDL, commercial driver's license. Now, of course, with the MTA, the requirement is that once you're called for a bus operator position, you will, you'll need your regular driver's license and your CDL permit. But the advantage of being in Workforce One, they'll help you get a license where you have a huge advantage of other folks. So let's say I come in there with my permit. You may be able to move along a little faster because you don't need to get your CDL license. You'll come in with your CDL license. So Workforce One has specific programs, if you will, that they help. And I talk about resume skills a lot because I think it's important, because a lot of folks, people in general, think that because it's a lot of work to create your resume. I know that, right? But a lot of people think that it's one size fits all with the resume. It's not. I know it's a lot of work, but this is important. There's not one employer that I can think of that has a team of recruiters that will literally sit and look at hundreds of resumes. They don't do that. So it is so crucial that when you're applying for any job, hopefully with the MTA, but with any organization, that you are literally looking at your resume, comparing your resume to the job that you want to apply for, and use the same word. So when you're in college, right, or you're in school, they share with you, don't copy, don't use the exact words. This is the one time I'm going to tell you to do that. Meaning, if you meet the qualifications, because companies use a software program, ATS, right? It's an automated tracking system, which a computer program literally scans the resumes. It will scan your resume. And what it's looking for are the exact words that are used in the job description itself. So let's say hypothetically, you meet the criteria, you have the experience, right? In your mind, you're going to get called, but not if you don't use the exact words, because that software program is not a person. It's not going to know, but that person has the criteria. So what you want to do is at least get an invitation to speak with the hiring manager and the recruiter. You want that initial interview, phone interview, if you will, because that's your time to shine, to share why that you qualify for the position. Anything else? You can unmute yourself if you have, if you want to ask questions. I'm so happy so many of you are here. We got a big group, right? On a happy pre-Friday, right? And I hope, so yes, you can, Workforce One is phenomenal. Yes, someone said they're helping them get their CDL, yes. And how do you become a police officer? By the way, I love that question also. We need help, right? Please go to the website, go to our career page, because the police department is so crucial to the MTA, our police department. Click on the hyperlink. So remember I said next week, I don't know if I shared this with you, I'm going in and I'm going to help with interviews. Those are the interviews I'm going to help with, actually, I'm just sharing with you, for the police people who have applied previously for the job. So I implore you to please go and look at the requirements for that. I'm quiet. So Ellen, would you extend that to high school equivalency? I'm not sure.
I was asking about the opportunities you have for high school students.
So that's a great question. So we have a nice partnership with DOE. They're actually with, so the internships, the internships are with high school students. Are you asking, are those with students who are in a GED program?
Right. Is that possible, or is it paid for by the DOE?
It is paid for by the DOE, actually. So we bring them on, but we don't pay them. Do you know if I'm just curious, because I can look into this, the GED program, do you know if they would pay them? Jennifer, do you know the answer to this?
If the DOE,
let's say I'm in the GED. That's an excellent question, by the way. If I'm in the GED program, Jennifer, and I'm in the process of obtaining my GED, which is great, do I qualify for a high school internship?
no, usually the DOE programs are separate from a high school program. The part of that's usually like an adult program.
That's
so
what I was
usually we
thinking.
haven't been affiliated with internships for GED participants. But I mean, maybe that's something that they could look into. They could
Yes.
definitely look into forming a partnership so they can get internship type of experience. But to date, we have only dealt with the New York City public high school system.
Right.
I wrote that down, Ellen, because I agree with Jennifer. You know, that's something definitely that we should look into.
Yeah.
And then I'll shoot you an email. Maybe we can see how we can, so I would present it to the chief, if you will, to see if or how, or if the sponsors, if you will, of the program, like the DOE, would actually pick up the costs.
Right.
That's a great question, though.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah. So we can talk about that further.
Right, right.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Is
so
it
I have,
Crystal?
yes, it is.
Okay. Hi.
Okay, so I was asking because I was listening, but I'm watching Twins right now. So, my first thing to say about that, if you guys are going to do that, as far as the previous question, I used to work for a nonprofit that dealt with GED, and I taught GED classes. And oftentimes the nonprofits, they have funding for other programs that's going to lead to employment. And more specifically, the ATIs, which stands for Alternative to Incarcerations, those type of programs, they definitely pay once they know it's a good partnership, and they always want good partnerships to link employment as well as with the GED, because they're doing both. So that's just something to add on in case you want to, look into that. And my next question is, I just want to know, are all of the IT, do they have intro IT jobs as well? Because I know you said it was booming, but do they have the intro ones? Because I'll be almost finished next year. I'll be finished one of the boot camps for cybersecurity,
Good
and
for
just
you.
wanted to know. Thank you. And I'm also doing my degree as well, but I wanted to do the boot camp to work a little quicker though, So that's why I'm just like, do they have intro? Is it all just like, oh, you have a lot of experience? Because I wouldn't have a lot of experience. I'd have projects under my belt with certifications, and just wanted to know if that's still adequate.
So I paused because I think it was in May, I was actually in the link and looking at the job
Mhm,
open with IT.
mhm.
And oftentimes the bulk of the jobs would require a certain amount of experience and, of course, an undergraduate degree.
Okay.
One, and I don't remember the title, but there was one. So once in a while it does happen where, and don't quote me, but as I recall reading it, it said something about an associate's degree and an X amount of
Mhm.
experience. So it does vary. I
Okay.
suggest that you go to the website, when you go to the MTA's website and you look at the link, click on the link for IT specifically, look
Mhm.
at jobs, and please be encouraged that if you look at the jobs today and you say to yourself, but these are all for folks who have X amount of years of experience, it could change. That's the point that I'm making.
Mhm.
Also, there is a group that we connected with through Jennifer Buchanan, and
Okay.
our IT team actually did a presentation for CUNY. Well, I don't know if it was directly with CUNY or indirectly with CUNY in June. And it was a huge one. And so I bring that up because, and Jennifer can jump in a second. Jennifer, they have a program, Crystal, for
Mhm.
students actually. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. Is it Talent Tech, Jennifer?
Talent Tech Pipeline.
Jennifer, Crystal, type that or write that down. It's
Yeah, Talent Tech Pipeline.
Talent Tech.
I'll type it.
type, yeah, because you want to connect with them if you're not connected with them, Crystal.
Okay.
They are with the colleges within New York City, and they work specifically with students such as yourself who are in IT, and they have
Okay.
programs. Are you familiar with Talent Tech Pipeline?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, they are. I don't want to misspeak or anything, but they
have a boot camp as well too.
right.
Okay.
So look at that. It's Talent Tech Pipeline. They had one and it's ongoing. And to Jennifer's point, because I follow them on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
I forgot the person's name, but look into that, Crystal. Are you
Okay.
connected with, so of course you're connected with Ellen, right? Ellen Bax? Crystal?
No.
Okay. Well, CUNY.
I'm sorry, I wrote it backwards. It's
Okay.
Talent
Oh, it's
Pipeline.
okay. It's okay, because I wrote it down, and I'll definitely,
Okay.
because
I
you
wrote
guys
it-
gave me
it's-
something to go off of. So, I
Right.
could go now and search.
Right.
Eric put the website in the chat. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, they're phenomenal, Crystal.
Okay, cool, cool,
You wanna
cool.
connect with them, especially since you're graduating next year, right?
Yeah.
As far as the only reason I asked about the connection, if you will, or let me see, if is there a way that Alan, do you have the names and the email addresses of the participants? You're on mute.
What I would recommend is if you put your contact information, if you don't mind people contacting you, is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So what I was going to do, because I have to, actually, not that I don't want to give it out, my preference is to funnel through you. That's why I was asking, because I don't want them to think that I'm ignoring them, but
Or
sometimes.
they can hear, I'll do this. I'll put my contact information
And
here.
then Crystal, reach out to Ellen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just that sometimes I pause and I don't like not to reply to people's emails.
Yeah.
It happens that we're doing something else. Like I'm going to be working remotely. Like I share with Ellen and I share with you what I'm going to be doing next week, which means I'm not going to be on my computer or my email at all. I don't want that to happen where you say,
Yeah.
Wendy said all this great stuff, you and Jennifer, and ignored our email. So yeah, I think that's
so
important.
you can be in touch with me. The other thing that I wanted to do just really quickly is if we could actually, I can share my screen, if we can actually look at the MTA website that you've been referencing so that people can kind of see what that looks like. Can we take a minute to do that?
Oh, if you want to share it, go for it. I'm excited. We can take more than a minute.
Okay, so here we are. I'm kind of doing
Look at you, Ellen. All right, I'm excited. I know.
Right?
Like
Okay.
I'm looking for a job. Go ahead.
Okay, so here it says job posting, see all open MTA positions, right?
So Ellen, just so, because somebody asked a question in the chat, they wanted to know the difference between that, where can you find the resume-based jobs? Where can you find the civil service jobs, which means the test? So this site right here is where you would find all of the resume-based jobs under MTA.
Okay, great. All right. So is it fair to say that the resume-based jobs are higher level positions or positions that require more experience?
Not necessarily higher level. That's a great question, by the way. It's not necessarily higher level, if you will. I would say that in most case scenarios, it requires a certain amount of experience and education. Most cases, meaning most of these jobs require that you have a minimum of a bachelor's degree. Most of them, not all of them. So it's not, you could be an analyst or even with the collecting agent, there's people look at that and say, oh, great, this is a great opportunity. It is, but it requires that you have a license to carry a weapon, right? So a lot of people don't realize that. So there are certain requirements. I'm glad you pulled this up.
And also the resume-based jobs, even though it says track worker. So see, track worker here, you would find, that says track worker, right?
Yes.
This is also a civil service-based job, but this particular position happens to be with Staten Island Railway, which is a non-civil service agency. Okay. So this one, even though it's track worker, it's a resume-based job because it also depends on the agency. Remember early on, we stated New York City Transit and Bridges and Tunnels are our civil service agency, which means that requires an exam.
Okay. So like just to give people a sense of an entry-level position, right? Track worker would be an entry-level position. And so this is with Staten Island, but you can just get a sense of what the pay is, right? So we see that's $22.06 an hour. And the education is that it requires a diploma or equivalent, right? So there isn't really any experience required beyond that. And the starting pay is over $22 an hour.
Ellen, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Do you have to be a citizen to work for the MTA? What if you are in the US and you have a green card or you have a work authorization? That's my first question. And my second question is, must you live in the 5 boroughs or could you live in the tri-state area? Those are my 2 questions.
You want me to take that, Wendy?
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I'm flipping through
Yeah.
my things. And I'm not in my head like they realize they can answer. Yes, please. Go.
So, no, you do not have to live within the 5 boroughs. Living in the tri-state area is completely fine, and you do not have to be a U.S. citizen. You could have your residence card.
Right.
Thank you. And one more, I'm sorry, one more quick follow-up. I actually teach a high school equivalency class at your College Learning Center. Sometimes I have, young students, 18, 19. Is there a minimum age? What if I had a student who wanted to try for a bus operator? Do they have to be at least 21 or a customer service representative? That's my second question.
No, they can apply. Absolutely, they can apply it, Elena. Elena, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Ms.
Absolutely,
Williams.
they can apply.
So if I have a student as young as 18 or 19, they can still apply.
Absolutely. So let's think about bus operator for a second, right?
Yes.
So with the bus operator, one of the requirements is that they have their regular driver's license. So we know that as a young person, if they have a junior driver's license, that's different, but it has to be a regular driver's license. So that's the requirement, as long as they meet the basic requirements. And then when they're called, provided that they can, that they have their CDL permit. And what's great about whether it be Workforce One or literally, I did this myself when things were open up, just curious. I walked into the DMV, they can get the book for free for the CDL permit, actually.
And even for the customer service agents or the ambassador positions, again, there's no minimum age.
Right. I mean, of course they can't, if they're in high school, but as far as the customer service position, there are requirements relative to the experience, and there may be education on there. So it depends on the job itself, meaning bus operator, no education, no experience, they can apply. They meet the requirements. That customer service position that I shared, by the way, yes. I'm almost positive that there's specific educational requirements. So if that's the case, then more than likely it would be 18 or older.
Okay.
And so to find out about the exams, do you go through DCAS or?
Through our website, the NOE that I shared, list itself. So
okay.
When they go on the and I don't want to click out by mistake, but when they go on to even the exam that I share the current exam notice of exam list, right? There's only one exam that's active. If they're curious, Ellen, they go to that website, they click on that link, it gives them the requirements.
Okay.
So that's a good question. The NOE is really good and is really important because it breaks everything down. The great news is that there are different ways in which they can obtain a fee waiver if they meet the qualifications. And the individual or those who asked about Workforce One, that's one way. So when we conduct these huge presentations with Workforce One, there could be hundreds of people who are actually active in that program that meet the requirements. And the team at Workforce One, they have a special document, I know this, by the way, that will help them to get that fee waiver.
So one thing I want to say about the NOEs, there is a lot of text on the page, right? It's a lot of information. It's like, there are no pictures, right? It's a lot of text, a lot of dense information. And you really have to read it all to see, okay, is this something that I should go for? So don't be intimidated. Just, you can take it slowly and you can go through it. You can maybe get some of your classmates together and say, hey, let's try and look at this together, right? Like, let's try and read this and see what we can figure out. And, there's some amazing opportunities in the MTA, but you have to do some work for it, right? Like, you have to read these things very carefully. You have to follow, like, whatever they say you have to do, you have to follow those instructions because You know, the reason why a lot of city agencies have these rules that are ironclad rules is to prevent what has happened in the past of someone saying, oh, I'll get my cousin in. I know a guy, right? So like the reason why a lot of city agencies have these rules is so that people can't say, oh, I'll get my cousin in, right? So that it's fair. But that means you really have to read everything and you really have to follow the instructions, because, you know, if you don't, then you're not going to be in the running. So that's one thing. Another thing is that the way candidates are chosen is by their scores, right? So what happens is after people take the test, they take everyone who took the test and they rank them according, you can tell me if I'm saying something incorrect, but my understanding is that they rank them by their scores. And when they're inviting people to a position, they start with the highest score, right? So, you know, Miss Williams was saying you might wait a few years for your number to be called. If you get a higher score, you're going to be waiting less time, right? Because you're going to be at the top of the heap. It's very competitive because they're fantastic opportunities. So tons and tons of people test. So you want to make sure that you are getting as high a score and your information is as complete as you can make it.
That's correct. Perfect. Thank you. Yes. And the NOE is really, really important. And not just to ensure that you make meet the requirements, but just to add on that it's something that you want to do. I think that's important. You know, you want to work where you get up in the morning and you're excited about it, not to say that you just want the check. That's important, right? We need the money, but you want to be happy in whatever field that you choose. And I think that's important as well. But what's great about the organization, like Jennifer shared, is that the ability to move, which is nice. The ability to grow within the organization itself and the various opportunities like she shared with you before. But I hope that, I love the questions and the questions beforehand and throughout the session. I hope it was very informative. Ellen, please send us an email with questions. I'll send you an email afterwards just as a follow-up with a couple of things. For Elena, if she has questions regarding the students, 'cause we don't have the program as far as the GED students, but that's something that's in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about, and I wrote notes to share, and maybe we can get a little more information before I present it, or Jennifer and I present it to the deputy chief of our talent acquisition team. So I think to build the information, to build the business case, if you will, would be very helpful as far as gleaning the information. But I hope it was wonderful for me. Most importantly, I hope it was wonderful for everyone else, and that you're all pumped up and excited about joining this phenomenal organization, because we need you. Sharon,
this was fantastic information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to my partner, as always, Jennifer Buchanan, is always yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
And thank you so much. And Ellen, thank you for having us. And Eric, it's been nice meeting you all. And we wish you all the very best. Enjoy the rest of the summer. And I hear it's kind of cool outside in comparison. Maybe we should all go out and get a little air.
Get some air.
Right? Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. Have a great day.